But am I really? Am I really live? YouTube was being spectacularly uncooperative, as was the rest of pretty much my life. Oh my goodness. So I need to turn this off because I had pulled this up in the other. Nope, nope, go away. There we go. Hello, knitters. Barbara Benson here. I am very, very sorry that I'm a little late. I went out to dinner with my mother, and it ran a little longer than I thought. I didn't think that the buffet restaurant would take an hour and a half, but apparently the whole everybody else being on vacation because I live in vacation land translates to everything taking forever. So thank you so much for your patience. And then YouTube didn't want to cooperate. So it's just all, one of those days. Okay. Hello, Jenna and my golfer. And hello, Arnetta in DC and Miss Shannon. Hello, Deborah in New Jersey. And hello, retired Joe. Hello, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the last Thursday of April, and we do the YouTube Live thing on the last Thursday in each month. And I do my best to. Hello, Debbie in Wisconsin, and Doreen in San Antonio. Hello, Sarah Joe. Thank you all so much. And thank you for your patience. You know what? I'm going to actually check a calendar real quick because I did schedule a summer vacation. And I think that June is not the June 29th. I will be in the air flying somewhere. So we definitely won't be doing June. It just occurred to me. Oh, you know what? Okay, Miss Golfer, thank you so much. I didn't actually get my hair cut. It's just that I'm wearing it. I have my headband on, and the longest part of my hair, which you guys normally see, is the part that frames my face. So this is how long the back is and has been for quite some time. It's one of those longer in the front than it is in the back kind of situations. So it wasn't really, it's not really a haircut. It's just, I just threw on a headband this morning and went for it because I didn't feel like doing a whole lot to my hair. But thank you. Hello, Dazzling Creations. I'm so excited. Hello, Nina in the Chicagoland. I just love Chicagoland, and the fact that y'all call the area around Chicagoland. It kind of makes me feel like I'm going to an amusement park full of pizza, beer, and cheese. It just sounds like a whole lot of fun. Chicagoland. Hello, Trish. Hello, my friend. Hello, Alexandra in Australia, and Diane in Seattle. So Diane in Seattle, actually, I was just saying that I will be traveling the last week of June, first week of July. I'm actually going to be going to Tacoma. I'm actually coming to the Pacific Northwest. I'm really excited about it. I went to Seattle earlier, like last year at some point, but was only there for a weekend, and we wanted to go back and check it out and take the whole family. So I'm pretty excited about that. Hello, Victoria. Thank you for joining me from Quebec. Bonjour. And that's all I got. Or is Quebec the right place for French? I can't remember. Or is it bonsoir? It's the evening. I'm not sure. Yeah, feel my vibes. I will be having Pacific Northwesty vibes. I'm going to pull up Facebook and double check just to see if anyone asked any questions. I don't think I got one direct question via Ravmail, and I really appreciated the question, but it was about modifying a sweater, and I'm like, and as most of y'all know, if this is your first time in one of my lives, I do my best to answer as many. I mean, you can ask me anything, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to have the answer to to everything, because there are certain things in knitting that I just don't have any experience with. And while I may have opinions, it's not necessarily something I can give guidance on. And considering I have made a grand total of one adult like t-shirty type garment, modifying garment patterns is not something that I'm gonna have any good guidance for. Um, hello. Oh, you finished. Oh, Sarah Joe, you finished knitting the Mape shawl since the last live. I have seen you on both TikTok and um, the other not TikTok, Instagram. And I really have had a lot of fun watching you and watching your new explorations into knitting. I've really enjoyed that. Social media is fun. So on TikTok, it's kind of funny because you pop up in between all of the like Stray Kids videos I've been watching because apparently TikTok is now just how I mainline K-pop. But you know, we all get into strange things. It's keeping me young, I think. Okay, LPGA has a question which I'm really excited about. In terms of skills building, what would make sense as a next step? Color work or learning how to do lace? Okay, so Cindy, yay! I'm so excited you finished your impulse buy. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it's going to get a lot of wear. Did you share? I think you might have shared in did you share in the Facebook group if you're in it? But what I'm excited, yay, impulse buy. Okay. Okay, I'm avoiding that question. What so the thing is a step from what? The question is LPGA is where are you starting from? Like where do you like it's you saying your next step? Have you already done cables? Have you are how comfortable are you with increasing and decreasing? Because there are yes, you shared it, it's red. Thank you, Cindy. I love seeing stuff that people have worked on. It makes me so very happy. So if you're comfortable with increases and decreases, and by increase and decreases, I mean like knit two together and yarn over, knit two together, slip, slip, knit, and yarn over. If you can knit two together, yarn over, you can do basic lace. That is impulse buy. Impulse buy, the only lace involved in it is knit two together, yarn over. Knit two together, yarn over, slip, slip, knit. You can do a very wide variety of lace patterns. Okay, Sarah Joe. Okay, so Sarah Joe, it looks like you've been having fun in social media and you're doing much, but I cannot get TikTok really at all. I'm not good at making content for TikTok. I'm too verbose, and YouTube, I'm definitely more suited to it. I've tried to do the YouTube shorts and I just talk too much for 1 minute. The 1 minute limit just it causes problems for me. I can't even finish saying hi to people in 1 minute. But yes, I've been enjoying watching your content on TikTok and seeing you explore because you're at the beginning of your knitting journey, which is a really, really exciting place to be. And it's fun to see and it renews my excitement. My golfer who asked, do we want to do color work or lace? You've done no cables, but 2 raglan sweaters, 3 shawls, and a pair of socks. You can do lace. If you were able to turn a heel on a sock, you can do lace. That is not a problem. Because so you have 2 different kinds of lace. They kind of have 2 different names. You have knitted lace and lace knitting. Okay. And I get them confused. I think I'm right, but I could be wrong. So knitted lace, or what people call true lace, is when you have both increases and decreases on all of your rows around. When you're knitting flat, what that means is you're going to have increases and decreases on both the right side and the wrong side, which some people really don't like. A lot of people really want their rest row. So that would be lace knitting. And when you're doing lace knitting, typically what happens is you have increases and decreases, yarn overs and decreases on the right side, but not on the wrong side or on every other row if you're working in the round. So you have what I call an action row and then a rest row. The row that has the action on it, that has the knit two togethers, that has the yarn overs on it, that is the action row. And then you'll have a row that's just knits or just purls or a combination of the two, so occasionally. Whereas with lace knitting or knitted lace, I get them confused. Knitted lace, you're going to have yarn overs and decreases on every single row, or possibly on every single row. Now, the reason why a lot of people don't like that is because, especially if you're knitting flat, what that means is you're going to have purl two together, and you're going to have purl two together through the back loop, because those are your left and right leaning single decreases, and people don't like those stitches. So it is. So simple lace knitting is just yarn overs over knit two togethers. And you can do, if you can turn the heel on a sock, you can do lace knitting. You just don't try to do it watching TV when you're first getting started, because you do have to pay attention to how your stitches are lining up and what your count is. So when it comes to color work, if you just do simple mosaic color work, which is my preferred type of color work, you're literally just knitting stripes and slipping stitches. So as long as you're comfortable with changing the color every 2 rows and carrying that yarn up the side, you're going to have no problem with mosaic color work. And frankly, simply knitting stripes is the base level of color work. So I'm fairly confident that you could do either of those. The question is, which one makes you more excited? Which one are you more interested in doing, is what I would look at. Based on what you've said you can do, I really think that you could do either of those. I wouldn't pick a complex lace pattern, and I wouldn't pick a complex color work pattern. Also, I would look at something. I did a Fave 5 video a couple of months back that was learning patterns on cup cozies. So something small might be a great place to start. Yes, Victoria has an excellent point. So when you're doing lace, placing the stitch markers to frame your repeat can be a really great way of catching mistakes before you get too far. Now, the place where you can run into problems with that is when you get to more complex lace. You have a situation where what happens is, you know what? Let me see if I can do something here. Okay, I am going to try to do something real quick. Okay, OBS. I'm going to go to, okay, I'm going to go to here. Well, that's super exciting. So we're going to go to the window capture, and we are going to grab this window. There we go. And now let me fix the window. Now this is what we're going to have to do here. So that was pretty exciting. Okay. So when you're doing lace, right? So this is my charting software. So let's put in a repeat, right? So let's say I'm just going to do this. This is probably way too many rows. So let's move him over a little bit. Okay. So we're going to go in and grab myself an increase, and we're going to grab a decrease, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, right? So this is my increase and my decrease, right? And I'm going to make that go away because the math didn't math correctly, because I am really just doing this on the fly. Okay. So, yeah, I did visit the multiverse. Okay. So if you look here, right? And this is just knit two together, yarn over, knit two together, yarn over. If this is your repeat, right? See how this decrease, you know what? Oh, it's being a booger. You know what? I'm going to leave it like that. Okay. Can you see my mouse? Yeah, you can see my mouse, right? So you see how this decrease right here has this decrease, and then the yarn overs on the other side of the repeat line. And as you go across, it ends with the decrease, and then you have a yarn over on the other side of the repeat line. If you place a stitch marker here and here, what's going to happen is when you get to your stitch marker, you're not going to have, you only have, because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 5, 6, right? So if you look at the row below, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll have 5, stitch marker 6. So when you have a situation like this, where your increase and your decrease straddle the repeat line, if you put a stitch marker there between the knit two together and the yarn over, every time you hit this point, what you're going to have to do is work up to one stitch before the stitch marker, slip that stitch, remove the stitch marker, put the stitch back, knit two together, and then replace your stitch. And this can cause people problems. So if you're doing any sort of linear lace that has, what it is it will have, let me get back to here. What happens is if you have a traveling yarn over, right, that's going all the way across this is where it happens. When you're trying to make this straight line of yarn overs to make a nice linear thing, and you end up with all of these being fine, but you hit these points where you're straddling because you want it to continue in this straight line. You see how it's making that straight line, but your repeat is in here, so it's doing this funky thing. But so that is the only place where you need to be careful about using stitch markers. Okay. I don't know if that was helpful or interesting, but it was fun going into the multiverse. Okay, so Victoria, I'm on the lookout for stretchy summer yarns, preferably no synthetic fibers. Any recommendation? So in the realm of stretchy summer yarns, the number one I would recommend is Kobasi. Let me see if I can pull it up. It's called Kobasi, and it's from Skacel. And let's go back to, oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. We're going to go back into the multiverse for a moment, y'all. That was kind of fun. Oh, where did it go? Oh, it's going to be that. I told y'all it was going to be that kind of night. Let's go back to here. And then I'm going to change my window again to here. And it just got really wonky. Oh, so what I'm going to do is, here we go. You can see it. So this is Kobasi from Haiku. It's a Skacel product, and it's a really great yarn. And it is a cotton, elastic nylon, viscose from bamboo, and silk. So the Co is cotton, the bamboo is BA is bamboo, and the SI is silk. And then you have this kind of elastic nylon-y stuff and the viscose that is in there that makes it a really nice, it's stretchy. And the thing is you're not really going to get a stretchy yarn without an elastic of some sort in it, but it really, really holds its shape really well. And it comes in both fingering weight and DK. So this is the DK. So it's 220 yards per 50. No, this is the fingering weight. So that's going to be up to 440, but it also comes in a DK weight, I believe. And it comes in a lot of really, really nice, bright, fun, summery colors. It's just a really, really lovely yarn. So that is for a summer weight stretchy yarn, what I would, off the top of my head, what I would recommend. Okay. Now, take into consideration, because it's elastic, it is not going to do lace very well because it's not going to hold a block particularly well. Okay. Oh, you like the Cup Cozy video? Excellent. Lifelines are also good when you're getting started in lace knitting. What a lifeline is when you take a thin yarn, and after you finish a row, usually it's at the end of a repeat, you take a yarn needle and you thread it through with that extra yarn, and it's a yarn that you're not winning with, and you run it through all of the stitches so it stays in there. So if you later have to frog back to it, you don't have to worry about dropping stitches. It is super cool. You snapped your hank. Yes, you got to snap it good to get all the yucky stuff out of it. Yes, so the chainette construction, Victoria said, thank you for the suggestion. I'm thinking that maybe yarns with chainette construction might add some stretchiness as well. Yes, it definitely could. You know what? So one yarn I can think of that is what I would consider lightweight, and again, man, I'm doing this thing a lot. So we're going to go back to Chrome. Here we go. So this is from, I've worked with this yarn. It's a really nice yarn. This is Lindy Chain from Knit Picks, and it is that chainette type construction, and it is a cotton linen blend. So it's 70% linen and 30% cotton, and it does come in a lot of really nice colors, and it is that chainette. So it's linen, so it might be a little bit on the stretchy side, but this is an excellent yarn if you're looking for a summer weight like that. And I have knit with it. One of the patterns in my first book is in this Lindy chain, and I really enjoyed it. So that would be something you could look into. Go back to phone. This is fun. Okay. Sarah Jo. So Sarah Jo has asked, why do people hate doing purl stitches? So that depends a lot on how you knit. Knitting, if you tension the yarn in your right hand, which is considered English style, purling is not quite as much of an issue. If you are a continental knitter, which means tensioning the yarn in your left hand, the purl is a little bit fussier and it just kind of slows you down. It's annoying. There are people who have challenges with maintaining tension because you kind of have to wrap it differently and hold it differently in your hand, whether you're English or continental style. Purling, some people just struggle with purling. Their tension gets a little bit off and they just tend to. Now, specifically what I was talking about is people who don't like doing purl two together or purl two together through the back loop. Again, it's because it slows you down. Purl two together is not too bad. Purl two together through the back loop, it's just something you got to stop and rotate your hand, and the redoing the positioning of your hand, it's just like a speed bump in your knitting. You're knitting and you're doing fine, then it's like, and you just have to do a little bit of gymnastics. So it's just, there are a lot of people who do not particularly care for the mechanics of purling. If it's smooth sailing for you, that's fantastic and good on you. It's just how different people hold their yarn and the mechanics, because everybody knits a little bit differently. Everybody holds their yarn a little bit differently, and purling can be frustrating for a lot of people. It's just one of those things. Okay. Cindy, that is an excellent point. Do not run your lifeline through your stitch markers, because then you will not be able to move them. So yes, that is an excellent safety tip for lifelines. We have all done that before. So Sarah Jo, do you tension your yarn in your right hand or your left hand? because that can really make a difference. I learned how to knit continental and I tension the yarn in my left hand, and I was very, very frustrated with purling to the extent that I almost quit knitting until I learned how to do the Norwegian style, a modified Norwegian style purl, and that's what worked for me. And it's really just about finding something that works for you. Okay, so you tension your yarn in your English style, which depending on if you're actually a thrower, which is you like actually pause and hold the yarn in your hand and like your right hand leaves the right hand needle and wraps. That's called throwing. And then there are people who hold the right hand needle in their hand and just kind of lever their hand forward and flick the yarn around the needle. And those are called flickers. Um, Depending on how you hold your yarn and the mechanics of your knitting purl stitches, you might have just found a really comfortable way to purl, and yay, it's not going to bug you. That is fantastic. But like, I am very awkward with tensioning the yarn in my right hand and purling with my right hand. Just it's a speed bump in my knitting, and it's a little bit frustrating. So let me get a drink. LBG, I timed myself last week 20 minutes for about 100 stitches for a purl two together with yarn over. Yes, the purl twos togethers are, they just slow you down. They just slow you down. But sometimes they are necessary. I use purl two together in a bind off, and it just makes it nice when you're binding off in pattern. It just makes it look much nicer. There's when you get into like Estonian type lace, you'll get into situations where you have to purl multiple stitches together, and that can get a whole lot of fun. It actually gets to the point where it's just easier to do it with a tiny crochet hook than to actually attempt it with your knitting needles. Um, you know what? It's not, Suzanne, that is an excellent point. Suzanne asked, what's the rush? It's not as much about, because, you're right. It's not about going fast. It's more for me about breaking your rhythm. When I get into a rhythm in my knitting, it's very therapeutic for me, and it makes me, it's interrupting that rhythm. I'm knitting along and then blah, 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 and it's just, but you know what? If I want the thing bad enough, if I want to accomplish that technique badly enough, I'm going to do it. I do all kinds of wacky stuff with my knitting, and sometimes that's really fun. It just depends on the kind of knitting that you want to do at the moment. Sometimes you want meditative knitting that isn't going to take a whole lot of brain power, and sometimes you want something that's going to keep your mind really engaged and that involves counting. Just depends on what you like. But yeah, it's not necessarily about how fast you get there. Sometimes it's about the journey. So that is an excellent point, Suzanne. Okay. Woo. I feel like I've just been talking straight. Do y'all want to see what I'm working on? I'm almost done with it. I'm going to wait and see somebody say yes. I want to make sure somebody's out there. Thank you. Somebody said yes. Thank you. I asked a question. I got to wait for an answer. So I am almost done with this. And by almost done, I mean, thank you for saying yes, Cindy and Nina and Joe. Thank you so very much. By almost done, I have this much yarn left. So I've got to decide how many more rows I'm going to do and then bind off. And so it's this. You might look familiar. It is, you know what? It is not it could be a shawl version of a good scarf. It is definitely a variant on a good scarf. I'm pretty sure I'm going to call it a good wooby, W-O-O-B-Y, because it's a baby blanket. It's a receiving style or stroller blanket. It's just, I wanted to knit it up. It is one skein of Yowza. So that's 560 yards of DK weight. So it's going to take like maybe 2 skeins of regular DK weight or the one giant skein of Yowza. And it is a little baby blanket, but it has the same effect as a good scarf. Isn't that fun? So I wanted to knit up after y'all responded so positively to the baby blanket in this month's Fave 5. I was like, I need to knit a baby blanket. Everybody else is excited about baby blankets, so I wanted to knit a little baby blanket. You say yells and you think Doctor Who. I'm sure that Miss Babs has Doctor Who colorways. She's got everything else. So that is, but you could definitely, so this is 560 yards. And if you wanted to do a stole, you can see it's only going to be about shoulders width. And to do a stole, like a rectangular wrap that would actually wrap around you, you would need it to be cross the front, cross the back, and then this is probably of a third of how big it would need to be. So you're talking about like 1,500 yards of DK weight. That's like getting into blanket territory. But so yeah, that is what I am working on right now. I've thought about doing a shawl version of a good scarf, but I can't decide what. Okay, you're going to get over there. I can't decide what weight to do it in. I mean, would it need to be in fingering weight? It would have to be a rectangle because I really think a good scarf is only going to work in a rectangle because of its really delicate balance of shaping. Thank you, Victoria. It's called wand flower. And I just thought that yellowy, greeny, I thought it was a very, very good gender neutral color. One of those, this color would be great for any kind of baby. I didn't want it to look like any specific, it's just a baby blanket. It's for babies. Okay, so, hey Jenna, you said what happened to the teal piece with the cables you were working on? So it isn't actually cables, it's just lace, but it is knitted lace, so it has lace on every row, which makes it look kind of cabley. That is going to be released in May. So I try only to release one pattern a month because I don't want to overwhelm y'all. And also that's about as much as I can manage. It takes me time. I still haven't photographed it, but it is currently with my tech editor being edited. And that pattern, the second sock cowl electric boogaloo, that is literally what I put on the PDF. Y'all named it last month. Let me see if I can pull that up, actually. If you don't believe me, let me see if I can find it. Second. Here we go. Okay. I've got so many different things. No, I do not want to help improve. Okay, let's see if we can go back here, go to window capture, and let's see. Here we go. There it is. This is where it is. As you can see, I haven't photographed it yet, but it is officially called Second Sock Cowl 2, the Electric Boogaloo. This is so these are the squares. When I get the pictures taken, they'll go in here, and I've sent this off to the I've sent this off to my tech editor so they can edit and make sure I didn't misspell anything or don't have any of my numbers wrong. But yep, that is the name. Y'all named my new pattern, and that will be coming out this month, probably the second or third week of May. Okay, what happened? So there, Jenna, that's what it is. It's coming. And we will talk about interchangeable needle sets in just a moment. Victoria, I can't really take credit for that pattern name. It was, I believe, Sarah Jo who suggested it last week, and I about peed myself. I laughed so hard, and I went in and changed my PDF that evening to give it that name. It is funny, and that is going to be knitted lace. That is true lace, but it's in the round, and it's not a problem. Oh, Jenna, you said Susan. Yes. So Jenna has mentioned Susan has converted, Susan being my boss at A Good Yarn, has converted you to rocket squared needles. So the rocket squared needles are square metal needles, but they don't have like hard edges on them, and they have like little bumps on them, and they are really good for people who have tension problems in their hands because it changes how you grip them, and it can really help if you run into hand tensions. Joe retired, yes. Interchangeable, I use, but careful, if the joint is not good, then it's not a smooth knit. So yes. So interchangeable needles. The things there are multiple things to consider when you're talking about interchangeable needles. The join and how well how smooth it is, how long the taper is. Let me just grab a needle. This is not necessarily an interchangeable needle, but I can here. So when you look at a needle, your needle has four, like the anatomy of a needle. So we're talking about circular needles. You have a cable. This is the cable. And then you have, this is the ferrule, Ferrule, and that is what attaches the cable to the shaft of your needle. And this is the shaft. And then this is the taper of your tip. Okay. Now, some of the things that you have to really look at, like obviously, we talk about the tip a lot. Do you like pointy or do you like a more blunt tip? Typically, a wooden needle is not going to have as pointy of a tip simply because the needle is not going to handle the wood. The material won't let you do it. But the length of this taper is important. If it's really, really short, then your stitches are not going to transfer smoothly. But if it's really, really long, then you have to push your stitch way further back onto the shaft to set your stitch size. So it needs to be a nice medium length. The taper on your ferrule is very important because what happens is as you're knitting and your stitches are sliding along here, if this drops, if the distance between the thickness of the shaft tapering down to the thickness of your cable is too abrupt, it's going to stop. So it's not a problem. It's the problem when you're trying to pull it up, it just gets stuck. So you want to look for a long taper here and a medium taper here. And then the material here is a matter of personal preference. And then you have to be careful, like with this wooden needle, the join between the metal ferrule and the wooden needle has to be smooth, and the join between the cable and the ferrule have to be smooth. So all of those elements are important. And then an additional one is whether or not the cable swivels in the ferrule, which there are some that do that and some don't. So this is a Haya, I believe. No, I don't know what this is. What is this? This is a Haya. And if you look at this one doesn't have the ferrule because it's unibody, so it doesn't have the separate ferrule, but you can see how the taper on this one, see how it's different. It kind of goes a little more abruptly, kind of pops up like that. But in the points, and you just got to look at all the different things. So, okay. So those are all the things. And then materials. You have to look at your materials, and your own personal preferences and materials are going to go a long way. Okay, let me see. I yammered a lot about needles. Let me see what other people are saying. Yes, the join where these, if you're looking at a wooden needle, there are two joins. There's the cable join, and then where this metal joins your wood. And in a metal needle, there's typically only one join. But in interchangeables, there's also the join where this screws on to the cable tip. So there's two joins that you have to be concerned about. So Victoria Henry, Chow Goo, lots of votes with Chow Goos. So Chow Goo worries me because I've had so Sarah Jo. My question for you would be, and please take this the right way. Where did you get your Chow Goos? I'm only asking you that because there are some very inexpensive Chow Goos that you can find on Amazon that are really inexpensive, and they're knockoffs. They're fake. Chaogu does have some problems with people knocking off their needles. So, I mean, but I do not doubt that the cable snapped, and the cables do occasionally snap. I'm curious what you were doing with it. I've never had a problem with getting one replaced though when the store happens. I've been working with Chaogus for a long time. They are the way the cable is constructed is it's a twisted stainless steel covered with nylon, and because it is metal, if it has a repeated bend, um, it can get that metal fatigue. Typically, that's why if I am doing magic loop with like a Chaogu needle, I'm going to be magic looping on a minimum of a 32-inch. You don't want to get with a Chaogu, you can't get an acute bend. Like if you try to do that, oh, it's not going to focus for me. Let me see if this one. If you try to bend like that on a Chaogu, you're gonna end up snapping that cable. Chaogus, you never really want them to go much past this size loop. You don't want to try to get that down because of the metal in the cable. Okay. Cindy, you attended a needle tasting. That's really cool. Yeah, needle tasting. That sounds really, really cool. Jenna KH said it seems the unscrewing problem happens more for continental needles. 100%. I have always had problems with and it has to do with the motion of the knitting. I have them unscrew on me all the time. Typically, I crank them down so tight I can't get them back off, and all of my interchangeable needles have turned into fixed needles. It's just what I've done to them. Well, Sarah Jo, and I said they can break. I don't doubt it. And if you've had a bad experience, I totally understand. Knitter's Pride actually has introduced a similar cable to the Chaogu cable, which is what most people like about Chaogu is that non-memory cable. Now, if I remember correctly, on your TikTok, you had the Nova Platinas, which are a nickel-plated metal needle that chipped, and my guess on that is that your nickel plating chipped off. I have a nickel allergy, so I cannot use the nickel plated. And what I've done with the needles that I have tried that are nickel plated, like like something about the chemical composition of my hands eats the nickel plating. They get rough and kind of dull, and they squeak weirdly. So when I do metal needles, I really only do stainless steel or aluminum. I do aluminum or stainless steel needles, because the nickel plating can chip off, it can get damaged, and I think that that's what you ran into on that. So, um, whoever you got them from on Amazon, again, like in my store, we do occasionally get a Chaogu in that is broken, and we just take it back and contact Chaogu and they replace it. So they're really pretty good about that. But again, yes, they can, any needle can break. The new lantern yes, Victoria said the new lantern moon cables with the metal core are super, super nice. They are. Lantern moon is definitely on the high end of the price range, though. They are gorgeous needles. Their ebony needles are absolutely beautiful, and I do like the cables. The Swiv 60 cords from Chaogu, those are really nice. Okay, and that might be something if you're having unscrewing problems, having a swivel cord as opposed to a fixed cord can help with unscrewing problems. So the Addy Click system Some people absolutely love it, and others don't particularly care for it. I'm afraid I'm in the don't particularly care for it uh, category because on the Addy Click, the way that their system works, it makes this part of the needle really long and it just doesn't work with my knitting style. But I know a lot of people who adore the Addy Clicks, and since they do click, they do not unscrew. So if an unscrewing is a problem, Addy Clicks are great. But I believe you mentioned that you just ordered one set of tips and one cable to just try it out. That is a great idea to do with any of these products, to try it out before you invest, because an actual kit, an actual interchangeable set can cost upwards of $200. So you trying just one out, ordering one set of tips and one cable is a really great idea. White bronze over brass. That's cool. I have I have one pair of Addies, and they are super, super old school Addies, and they're actually just the bronze. They're like a coppery color, and whenever I knit with them, my hands smell like pennies for like 3 days. I mean, I love they're great to knit with, but they make my hands smell funny, and that's just my own personal chemical composition causing problems. Um, Yes, you gotta knit with things for a while before you know if you're happy them. So the Swiv 360s, yes. I think that the Swiv 360s for ChiaoGoo work on any of ChiaoGoo needles, because I know that the red lace cords interchange with the nylon cords. So I think that all of ChiaoGoo's stuff is interchangeable only with ChiaoGoo stuff, because ChiaoGoo is the only, so most needle sets, the tips are the male and the cables have the female part of the join. And ChiaoGoo, it's the opposite. The cables have the male part and they screw into the tips, I think, unless I got it backwards, which is a distinct possibility. Okay, these are, see, I got these cranked on too tight. I think I got it backwards. Yes, yes. No, I got it right. But so this is a these are zings, and I really like these. These are an aluminum needle, and all of the different sizes are different colors. I specifically bought my zing set to use to make YouTube videos because of the high contrast I can get between the yarn that I'm working on and the needle. When I'm making videos, it's really beneficial. But these are aluminum, and this is this is like a knot join. There is like literally nothing there. And then it has the taper. And as you can see right now, I'm trying to take this apart to show y'all, and I can't get it apart. And I think these are the cables from another set, because these aren't the color cables that came with it. I think these are from my gingers, which are also Knitter's Pride. So I do really like the zings. These are really nice needles as well. They're blunter. They're not as pointy as the ChiaoGoos, and they're hollow. They don't weigh very much. They're really cool. Karen says I'm gonna stick with my ChiaoGoo sets because they haven't let me down yet. If I start shopping around, I'll become a needle hoarder. I have so many needles, and never the one I need. You know what? Maria says, I can't use ChiaoGoo, hate the sound they make. They do make an interesting swing swing sound. I do love Haya Sharps, and they don't have, so Haya Sharps are somehow smoother than the ChiaoGoos. There's just a little bit of texture to the ChiaoGoo, and it does make a noise. And I know plenty of people that just straight up don't like using metal needles because they don't like the noise of the metal against metal. And that's totally understandable. It's kind of like, do you or do you not like it when somebody rubs a balloon? Somebody rubs a balloon near me, they're going to peel me off the ceiling. They're just certain kinds of textured noises that make all the hair on the back of your neck stand up. And if that doesn't work for you, I totally understand. Yeah, the zings are super cool. I like them, and you can get fixed zings and the interchangeable zings. Lantern Moon versus bamboo. Lantern LPGA asks Lantern Moon versus bamboo needle, which material is more slippery? The Lantern Moons. If you're talking about the Lantern Moon ebonies, the black ones, those are much slipperier. They are a laminated wood. They're similar to, I think, the Likes. I'm not exactly sure what they're made out of, but they're definitely smoother than a bamboo needle. A bamboo needle typically is unfinished. It's just polished. It doesn't have any sort of finish on it. And bamboo is pretty much on the when you're looking at needles from slippery to grabby, bamboo is pretty much as grabby as it gets. It's like on that far left end of grabby, grabby, grabby. It's getting everything. And then you get up into your metals and up into your like slick stainless steels are on the slippery end. Ruthie is saying her zings were a disaster. The fixed joins and flat tips are impossible. That is really interesting. So there you go. Everybody has different experiences with needles. Now, my zings are an interchangeable set, and they do have blunt tips. That I will totally give you that. The tip is nowhere near as pointy, but for that is what I think that's what I'm using on my. Yeah, that's what I'm using on my blanket right now because it's just a simple garter thing, and it definitely does have a blunt tip to it. I can see describing it as flat because it doesn't really come to much of a point, and it is tough. I'm not going to use those zings if I'm knitting any kind of fine, like if I'm using fingering weight and trying to knit lace, yeah, I wouldn't be using my zings. I'm going to use a Chow-Gu or a Haya. It's why you need all different kinds of needles because different ones suit things. But I didn't know that interesting. I didn't know that the joins on the fixed you had problems with. Again, it just depends on your experiences. I can totally see cats liking to chew the bamboo needles, Jenna. So I don't know what fingers is. Ruthie asked Likey versus dreams and fingers. I'm afraid that I don't have any experience with, gingers. I do like the gingers. I have a set of the gingers. I am not much of a wooden needle person. I almost exclusively knit on metal needles, so I don't have that much opinion. I do like gingers. It's one of the few wooden needles that I do use. The Likes, a lot of people like them. I've never knit with them. We used to carry them in the store, but we had to quit because they were having really bad supply problems. We had this really fun thing where our customers needed needles and we would order needles and they didn't have them. So we had to swap over. And so we do gingers now. I do like them, but a lot of people really like the Likes. I've never used dreams, so I'm afraid I don't know on that one. Victoria, what you knit makes a difference too. I love my olive wood addies. Ooh, that sounds amazing. When your yarns don't have stretch, they snag. See, again, what you're knitting with, what the pattern is. Are you doing cables? Are you doing lace? Is it a slippery yarn? Is it a grabby yarn? Grabby yarn plus grabby needle, usually not a good plan. Slippery yarn plus slippery needle, usually not a good plan. Splitty yarn plus pointy needle, not a good plan. So you got to use the right tool for the application. It's kind of like the whole, you can't use a Phillips head screwdriver to screw in a flathead screw. There's different tools for different applications. Okay. Oh, great tip, Marie M. Did I miss something? Ooh, is that Maria saying that Knit Picks just put out a reflection stainless steel? I do love my stainless steel. I do love my stainless steel. After trying many brands, my favorite is Knit Picks Interchangeable. See, and the only Knit Picks I ever got, I do have some Knit Picks. I can't use their, I'm excited to hear that they have stainless steel because their metal needles were mostly the nickel coated and I just couldn't knit with them. So that's interesting. Devoted to knit. I use wooden if I need to tighten my gauge just a smidgen. That is really interesting because typically, if someone is trying to loosen their gauge a little bit, I would recommend going from metal to wood. But again, everybody knits differently. Like I can't knit as tightly on wood as I can on metal because it doesn't slip. So that is really interesting. It's fascinating to me, endlessly fascinating how different everybody knits. Um, Karen, so many choices in needles, it's completely overwhelming. I'm going to crochet for a minute. There's so many different crochet needles. Like I have heard crocheters argue about the Susan Bates versus the other because like, do you like the hook to come to a point? How long is the hook going over? Do you like metal needles? Do you like the ones with the ergonomic handles? We have ones in the store that look like toothbrushes. I'm like, why are there Oh, those are crochet needles. I mean, they're hooks. There's all different kinds of crochet hooks too that I have heard people get into many, many debates over. Um, The Knit Picks cables, I believe, are just your typical nylon cable. They're just kind of like this. I don't know that they have a stainless steel one yet. Oh, and they might have a new one. Okay. I don't know why we always end up talking about needles on this broadcast. You would think we would talk about yarn more, but needles. I don't know that we've had a single one of these YouTube lives that we didn't end up talking about needles like endlessly. It's just one of those things. Do artists talk about paintbrushes all the time? Well, Ruthie K, thank you very much for joining us. It's the thing. I mean, I'm here to ask questions and everything, but really and truly, I enjoy the chat that goes on because even if I don't have an answer, there's almost always someone in the chat that knows something that I don't know or has a tidbit. Because it's my YouTube channel, but I am the first person to tell you that I don't know everything, and there's always room to learn and expand and have a lot of fun. And I really appreciate y'all coming in and talking to me. See, there we go, Trish. Thank you. I love Susan Bates crochet hooks with a handle by Touche Crochet. They're the only hooks that don't hurt my hand. I mean, crocheters have these same discussions. I just don't know what they all are. But I definitely know that they're different. The shape of the tip. I don't know where my crochet hooks are. Oh, oh, see here. I do. I have different ones. So you have your Susan Bates ones that have it's how deep is this and how pointy is this, and then I have this which I believe is a boil, Boyle, and you can see that the hook itself isn't as deep, it doesn't have that flat plane, and the top of it isn't as pointy. And then these are all the old school, you got to clamp down on it and get carpal tunnel metal ones, but now they have cool ones that have like cool ergonomic handles and everything, and they're soft and they're not metal, and it's just all kinds of there's all kinds of different stuff out there. um See, boy, it's the boy Susan Bates, man. I got both. See, and the boy versus Bates, huge debate. um So I did a clickbait video that's called the title of it I specifically did, and it's acrylic yarn, awesome or awful. And I agree, it is totally personal preference. And there are definitely major points to why people would like or prefer acrylic yarns. Affordability is a huge part of it for some people, but some people just really like it. And there's some really, really nice acrylic yarns out there, and they're great for people with allergies, and they're great for people who don't want to particularly care for, because I mean, I should do a YouTube channel, a YouTube video that's like the Karen feeding of wool sweaters because there is a certain level of devotion that you have to put into maintaining hand knitted garments out of fine animal fiber yarns that aren't going to stand up to the wear and tear of typical laundering and stuff like that. So I love fancy yarns, but I love not so fancy yarns. It's just whatever makes your heart sing, whatever you enjoy working with is what you should work with. I definitely think. But Sarah Jo, I do hope you will experiment with some steam blocking. I would recommend just do a swatch or something, because the difference that steam blocking acrylic makes in the drape and the texture of an acrylic yarn can be, and different yarns are going to respond differently. So you got to experiment with it, but it can make a world of difference. Just because it's acrylic doesn't mean it doesn't have to be blocked. I did notice when you showed off your Mapes shawl, that was awesome, that it was curling up a little bit on the edge. And if you just gently steam that, it might allow it to lay down a little bit better. But it could have just been how you were throwing it around, because I know trying to model something for your camera, it can also be super, super challenging. Okay. I was at Starbucks and two ladies were looking at my knitting and asked if I was using 100% wool, and it was Red Heart Super Savvy. They stepped up like, you know what? Red Heart has been around for forever, and it will be around for forever. And it comes in beautiful colors. I can tell you there was a time in my life when I was making a whole bunch of blankets, and I found a place where I could find Red Heart. Essentially, it was essentially Red Heart Super Saver, but I found it online, and it was a place that sold the mill ends. And what it was is it was ones that weren't quite the right color or something, or when they were changing a yarn batch, and they were the logs, but they didn't have the labels on them, so you didn't know what color they were, and you bought them by the pound. And I just ordered like send me, and what you could do is order it in like color families. It's like greens and blues, reds, whatever. And I'm like, send me 9 pounds of something in the blue range, and it would show up, and it would be a mishmash. But I made all kinds of fun blankets with it, and it was so cheap. Now, don't ask me what the website was. We are literally talking 15 years ago, in the birth of the internet and everything. Who knows if it still exists, but I have ordered mill end. So it wasn't even from a store. It was the seconds. So and I made great blankets with him and gave him as gifts. So all kinds of yarn. It all has a special place. Victoria, there are said to Arnetta, there's a warmth to wood needles. I find I'm not drawn to metal needles if my hands are cold. That makes total sense. They definitely are warm. Yeah, knitwear is pets. It's the care and feeding, proper care and feeding, how to tame your sweater. Joe said, funny thing, recently I tried a cheap plastic hook and was surprised at the ease and weight of it. Again, if it works with your hand, if it works with how you're working and it makes you happy, go for it. Expensive does not necessarily mean better, and cheap doesn't necessarily mean worse. Now, cheap does sometimes mean worse, and it's just, but if it works, it works. I'm enjoying the wooden hooks. I'm enjoying the crochet hook debate I set off. Makes me very, very happy. The ergonomic handles can make a world of difference, especially if you have hand strain. Okay, you did block it. Fantastic. I'm excited. Some people don't block acrylic. Now, and you steam blocked it, because wet blocking acrylic doesn't really do anything, but steam blocking definitely does. So that is super cool. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? How in the world has it been an hour already? I cannot believe that we have already been talking for an hour. It's boggling to me that we spent 45 minutes talking about needles and stuff. Y'all are awesome. I showed you my blanket. That's all I'm really working on now. It's about done. I think I'm going to make maybe 3 or 4 more rows, and then I'm going to bind it off. Did anybody have any opinions if we want a good shawl, like shawl version of a good scarf? What kind of weight would you think you would make it in? I don't know. Hi, Nina. Yeah, it's I can't believe we've done it. So if you are enjoying this chat, I'd appreciate it if you click the thumbs up button. Just let YouTube know that you enjoy this kind of content. Maybe they'll show you more, or maybe they'll show my videos to more people. That would be fun. But that little thumbs up button is a very useful thing for me, and so I'd appreciate that. So DKC, it already is. So okay, so Joe, I am so sorry. LPGA, not Joe, LPGA. There will be one next month. It's June. We're going out of town in June. May, we're still good, but June is going to be a travel day for me. I might schedule it earlier in the month. But it will, what it is it's not, it's definitely not going to be the last week, but May, we will probably still be just fine. I love DK weight yarn. Well, if you want to do it, Arnetta, if you want to do it, this baby blanket, all you need to do is just keep on knitting. And then you would have an enormous piece. I love DK weight. Okay, Ruthie, do you know of any board game or chess piece knitting or crochet patterns? I did the board, but the game pieces would be cool to make. I don't know of any off the top of my head. I would search Ravelry. If any place is going to have it, it's going to be Ravelry. The odds of somebody designing that is probably fairly high. But yeah, Ravelry is going to be your best bet for that sort of thing. Well, there we go. See this? This is why the chat is fantastic. Ariel says, pretty knitting, and her daughter just made chess pieces at Fruity knitting. Fruity knitting just made chess pieces. So there we go. So cool. And Nitty Natty. So we have several people have made, see, I would have never, I would not know where to get crocheted or knitted chess pieces, but y'all, the chat never fails. I love y'all. So Fruity Knitting and Nitty Natty have a chess game patterns. That is fair. That is fantastic. Y'all delivered. Okay. So any more questions? I'm really excited. I love that y'all are telling me when you finish up. I really appreciate you sharing on whatever social media you're on, be it Instagram, TikTok, or the Facebook group when you share pictures of your finished projects. I just adore seeing those. It's super fun. I was really excited. Someone in Facebook posted that they finished Giant Elves, which is out of my second book, and I don't know that I'd seen a version of it. That's a really great long rectangular stole that I love rectangles. I love rectangular stoles. What's the YouTube channel? Nina, I'm not sure what the question is. I'm not sure about the question, what's YouTube channel? Is it one that somebody else referred to? Because the Fruity Knitting podcast is a YouTube channel. They do a lot of really great interviews, and that is where the knitted chest board set that was being asked about. Oh, you're on my YouTube channel right now. It's called Watch Barbara Knit. This is my, see, look, these are my kitties. Watch Barbara Knit. And these are my kitties because this has always been, if you go back and see any of my videos, this is sitting in the background, and people have always commented on how much they like my bobblehead kitties. So I had the logo made, only they have the yarn, and so it's Watch Barbara Knit. I'm glad you found me on this, on the live. Nina, welcome. I guess you just saw the live broadcast and jumped in. So yes, I have actually been making, believe it or not, I was talking to my son about this yesterday. I have been making YouTube videos since January of 2016. And I actually looked at like my own, I had to go look at my channel for some reason. And it was just the details. According at the top, if you look at my channel page, it says I have 551 videos. That's a lot of videos. I can't believe I have made that many videos out there. Um, so hello, Brian. Welcome. Oh, Brian is working on 3D printing sock machines, which is so cool. That is just the combination of really coolness. Brian is a wonderful knitter who comes to the store, and that is really cool, Brian. You go. That is absolutely amazing. Okay, and Ariel is saying that the knitted chess piece, the knitted is episode 30 of episode 30 of Fruity Knitting. Now, Fruity Knitting is one of those podcasts that's really, really popular. They have absolutely amazing things. The episodes are like an hour and a half long. So they're very different from my content, which is based entirely on my attention span, which is about 20 minutes. So it's a very different style, but that is really cool. But yeah, I have a lot of YouTube videos. I tried to sort them out into some playlists. Here, let's go back to the let's go to window capture, and here we go. Let me fix this. We're gonna make it here. Oh, and you can see that's my interface. You can see some of the info that I get on my here. We're going to move that up here. And I don't know what's going on here. So, hang on. This is a TubeBuddy. There we go. That got rid of this silly stuff. This is us. Look, here, we're live. So I tried to sort it out. So if you just go to my channel, which is Watch Barbara Knit, and then you can see here, this is just going to be whatever one of my more recent videos. Actually, I don't know why it's doing. Oh, pattern tours. It has pattern tours first. So these are tours of my patterns that I have for sale. And I think, it looks like Second Sock Cal didn't make it. So I need to add that to that playlist. These are all of my most popular videos. And then I made these playlists. So here's the for beginning knitters playlist, where it's a lot of different stuff. And then these are like tutorials, and then the Fave Fives, and then the Fave Five featured designers. I think I might need to do some more of those, past live streams, and then so there are a bunch of different playlists in here that hopefully make it a little bit easier to navigate my channel. I try to be organized. I don't always succeed. Well, I'm so glad. See, I'm excited to be on the beginning part because I get to I get to be a little bit help informing and hopefully encourage you to be an adventurous and fearless knitter, because when it comes down to it, it's just yarn. It's just yarn and needles, and the worst thing that happens is you got to pull it out and then you just have more yarn to knit with. And that makes me super, super happy. So thank you all so much for joining me. We're looking forward to May. And yes, the new cowl will be coming out in May. I'm very excited about that. And thank you all for joining me and for the questions. And hopefully I will see you next month. Definitely, if you have any thoughts or comments or anything, this will be posted that you can rewatch it. You can always chat more in the comments or on in the Watch Barbara Knit Facebook group, ask questions in there. There's, again, so many different people that even if I don't know the answer to something, there's someone who can help out. Arnetta's going to sleep. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Ruthie and Trish. I hope you're all, Trish. I almost missed that. So Trish wanted to know the origin of tumped duck. So tumped duck, and I think she just saw that because that is my logo, and you can see that logo. That is tumped duck is, so when I first started, I was knitting and crocheting, and it didn't even occur to me that I was gonna be a knitwear designer. I was just thinking of making, like everyone in the early 2000s, well, what, 2010s, thinking about you know what? I think this is a good story for next time, Trish. We're dialing down, but I will tell the story of Tumped Duck in the next story because it is time to say goodnight. And okay, Trish, we will do that. Thank you so much, Jenna. I really appreciate it. Yeah, my duck, it will be a story for next time. Or maybe I'll check and see if I can find. I don't know if I've ever told it in an actual video. I might be able to find one of those. But yeah, Tump Duck, it's not as exciting as you think. It's just kind of absurd. So thank you all so much. You have happy, fun times knitting, and I will see you again soon. Thank you much. Yep, thumbs up. Thank you. Woohoo! And I will talk to you all later. Have a lovely, lovely evening and weekend. Okay. Okay, I got to find the button to push. See you later. Thank you so much. And pushing that button and